In this lesson, we're going to be talking about botnets. If you don't know what a botnet is, a botnet is a network of bots, not surprisingly. And what we mean by a bot is it's a computer system that's got a piece of software that basically turns it into a zombie or a robot carrying out the wishes of some master somewhere. And so what we've got is a network of all of these little slaves or zombies running around performing tasks given to them by a master from a command and control server network. Now, typically, botnets are used in carrying out criminal activities or annoying activities. For example, spam. You could argue in some cases that spam is illegal, but it's certainly annoying, and botnets are sometimes used to send out spam. They are also used to spread viruses and perform attacks and just generally commit other types of crime and fraud. So that's what a botnet is. Now, why are we going to study botnets? Well, one of the reasons for studying botnets is you may actually run across botnets as part of your ethical hacking activities, and it's useful to know what it is and how it operates. You also may have a very slim chance of actually deploying your own botnet as part of your ethical hacking activities, and so it's useful to understand what botnets are from that perspective. That's sort of dependent on the rules of engagement you have with your target as to whether a botnet would be useful for you. Finally, another reason for understanding botnets is understanding the protections that may be in place at your target because they're concerned about botnets or the vulnerabilities that may be exploited if there's a botnet that's available somehow. You may be able to get in through the botnet infrastructure, or you may be able to exploit the same vulnerabilities that the botnet used in order to get in to begin with. So again, there's lots of different reasons why botnets are used. In this case, here's an example of a botnet that was used to spam different people, and this is the Grum botnet. And there was some activities by different engineers who were involved in taking this particular botnet down, and there have been a lot of activities actually in recent years focused on taking different botnets down. Occasionally in the news, you'll hear stories involved with the FBI and a command and control network. DNS changer is a fairly recent example where the FBI was involved in this particular botnet that had this DNS changer software, and so they took control of the command and control network in order to extend its capabilities so that people wouldn't lose their internet because they no longer had working DNS. So here's another botnet here, and we've talked a little bit about Zeus. And Zeus is a botnet, but what it really is primarily is a toolkit that provides somebody with the abilities to build and administer their own botnet. So Zeus is a toolkit that generates this piece of software that can be installed, and the interesting thing about Zeus is that it's one of those things you have to purchase, and you can see here where it's talking about the latest version of the toolkit typically sells for about $700 only to trusted buyers. So it's not one of those, hey, I want to buy this, and you can just go down to your local computer store and buy a copy of Zeus. First of all, you have to know somebody who has it or is distributing it, and you have to be trusted by them in order to actually purchase it. And we do have a copy of the Zeus builder here. We've looked at this before. We will be looking at it in subsequent lessons a little bit in more detail as well. So that's the Zeus builder. Now, botnets actually go back for several years, and we've talked a little bit about the history of botnets and where they got their start. Here's an example of an analysis of one of the very early botnets called the Tribe Flood Network. And the Tribe Flood Network is written by a guy by the name of Mixter, or he goes by the name of Mixter. And the Tribe Flood Network is used on compromised Unix systems on the internet, and it was used to implement distributed network denial of services, doing things like ICMP floods and SYN floods, UDP floods, and Smurf-style attacks, which end up having the same sort of result as an ICMP flood. You could also get just a shell on the system of the computer that had this particular botnet client installed on it. So this goes back to 1999, and we were dealing with some of the early proof of concept origins of botnets at that point, and certainly by early 2000, we were dealing with the repercussions of those botnets as they were used to take down a number of sites on the internet or partially take them down. And there was definitely a lot of anxious moments over the course of a few hours as we were dealing with trying to figure out where the attacks were coming from and trying to mitigate them as best as possible, given the sorts of tools that we had available at the time. So again, botnets may be something that you run across for a variety of reasons. You may actually need to be able to implement one yourself, or you may be able to take advantage of vulnerabilities that they have either introduced or taken advantage of, or just in general, a company that's got a botnet or a target that's got a botnet installed inside of it. You can get a better understanding of what their taste for risk is and what their willingness to spend money on their security infrastructure is. So lots of different reasons why understanding botnets a little bit better is a good idea.